Welcome to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio, how to survive hidden healthcare and hospital dangers with author, speaker, and your host, Pat Rouleau. Pat has over 20 years experience as a professional public speaker, and for the next hour, she's going to be your healthcare and hospital survival guide. Each week, you will say, oh, as Pat exposes and explores little-known hospital hazards, delves into the deep waters of dangerous healthcare practices, picks the brains of her good-looking and influential guests, all guaranteed to keep you and your family safe in today's fragmented healthcare system. The program is for informational purposes only and is not intended for use as diagnosis or treatment of a health problem or as a substitute for consulting a licensed medical professional. And now your host, Pat Rouleau.
I can't bear it no more, baby. I got too much pride. But I'll survive. Keep on.
Hello, my name is Joe. Is this Pat Rouleau, the host of Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio?
Why, yes, it is.
Who are you?
Who am I? I am you. I am every person who has ever been in a hospital or doctor's office and has received less than acceptable treatment.
Who are you?
I am you. The person who got an infection during a simple outpatient procedure.
Wait, who are you?
I am you, the patient whose questions are ignored, who struggles to speak to the doctor as he or she has one foot out the door. I am the missed heart attack, the hospital-acquired infection, the wrong diagnosis, the unanswered call button.
Oh, so you're all about me.
The show is not about pointing a finger at hospitals, doctors, or nurses. It's not about a political agenda or party preferences. It's about you, your family, your friends, and your loved ones. It's about becoming informed of all the hospital hazards, what they are, how and why they happen, and what you can do about them. This show is about empowerment. It's about doing everything you can to stay safe during any and every healthcare encounter. Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. Yes, that's OH with an exclamation point. Will cause you to say oh, as each week we delve into little-known hospital and healthcare dangers. When you understand why something happens, you are better equipped to do something to change it and prevent it from happening to you. If enough people begin to speak up, together, each of us can alter the current precarious path of today's unsafe healthcare practices. Today, we have a very special guest with us later in the show, the famous television star and game show host of Wheel of Fortune, among others, Chuck Woolery, who is now the spokesperson for Generation America, the 50-plus organization that not only has great benefits, but more importantly, offers unbiased information as a powerful voice in Washington. You must stay tuned for this. So, turn off your technology, turn up your radio, and turn on your listening ears for yet again another fun-filled hour with us. But now I have the mic because it's time for the healthcare hazard of the week. The patient experience. Or as I call it, beyond the ask button. And today, we're going beyond the bull, the bull, the bull, the bull, the bull. Well, I'm happy to announce that many healthcare organizations are taking a long, hard look at the patient experience from the patient's viewpoint. If you tuned in a few weeks ago, you heard my interview with two lovely ladies from Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Boston, the Harvard Teaching Hospital. They have implemented many initiatives to include patients within their advisory councils, a move I think is smart. Well, in that light, I've been invited to speak at the Ohio Hospital Association's Partnership for Patients conference later this month. And my topic is this, the patient and family experience. It heartens me because the message is starting to reach the right people. Well, part of the reason is because some of Medicare's reimbursements to hospitals are based on positive patient satisfaction scores. But I'm not going to grumble about that. Maybe that it has to do with the financial motives. No point in that. Hopefully, if the message gets pounded into enough people's ears and minds, we can begin to make a positive difference. So, what do I think about the patient experience? I've talked about it before and how I think it has little to do with the external amenities such as marble floors and tinkling waterfalls, grand pianos in the lobby, or the food channel restaurants. The patient experience revolves around two key players, the patient, and I include the family, and the doctors and nurses, or the providers. Now, if the patients have little knowledge about their medical condition, medical jargon, hospital hazards, and the like, how can they be expected to make critically correct decisions about their health care? How can they stay safe from healthcare hazards such as infections if they don't even know what they are, how to avoid them, or the fact that they even exist? During my live presentations, I always ask the audience if they've ever heard of MRSA or C. diff. Most have no clue of what I'm saying. So imagine them entering a hospital room without the vaguest thought that everything they touch has the potential to be contaminated with these life-threatening microorganisms. And I just love the little buttons some healthcare providers wear that are supposed to help give the patients a clue that these deadly bacteria exist. The buttons say, "Ask me," or "Just ask me." I say, "Ask me what?" What does that button mean? What am I supposed to ask you? "Hey, Doc, what'd you have for lunch today? Do you have any pets? How do you make a chocolate brioche?" Well, and if by chance I do know, what will happen to me if I don't ask you? Well, for those of you who don't know what it's supposed to mean, join the crowd. It's a hospital campaign to help remind the patient, to remind the doctor or nurse to wash his or her hands. But who knows this? Kind of sad that we as patients have to remind our providers to do what they're trained to do. And then if or when we do ask, we are typically met with a rolling of eyes or a flat-out irritated response. "I've washed my hands 1,000,000 times today." Well, how are we supposed to react to that? To me, the ask button is a little like putting a Dora the Explorer Band-Aid on a stage 4 pressure sore. Yep, we did something. Oh, it's not enough? No, an ask button is not enough. We need to go beyond the ask button. Clue me into the fact that if I don't ask you to wash your hands, that is akin to a potential death sentence. And no, I'm not being overly dramatic. What is on your hands? You don't know, and neither do I, but your hands do have the potential to transmit, to cross-contaminate deadly bacteria from you to me. Well, tell me that. Go beyond the ask button and explain superbugs and microorganisms to me so that we can eliminate unnecessary healthcare-acquired infections. Wearing a button or posting an ask sign is simply not enough. It will not stop the bleeding. But if each patient does understand the gravity of hand washing or not, now we can be accountable to ourselves and also hold you accountable to me. Here's what I propose. I propose that all hospitals and healthcare facilities go beyond the ask button and offer a training class of sorts for all hospital patients. Have someone such as myself, who is not scary and who does not speak in medicalese tongue, have someone such as myself talk with these folks in a non-threatening group setting with other patients about the potential hazards. After all, when you understand why and how something happens, you're better equipped to do something to prevent it from happening. It's another way to hold the providers accountable. And secondly, I propose that hospitals change the way they react to patients when we do ask questions and show that we have some intelligence. What good is it if we as patients speak up if the hospital culture and climate does not allow it? Recently, I went to a new orthopedic specialist to take a look at my foot, which got mangled last year when some boat dock steps collapsed as I was exiting my kayak. Well, the doctor walked into the room and immediately reached out to touch me. There was a container of hand sanitizer on the wall, and I very kindly asked him to use it. He stopped in his tracks, and he looked at me as if I were some bizarre mutant albino freak, and then he sharply retorted, "I just used it in my office before I came in here." Seriously, buddy, just use the darn sanitizer and let's just get on with it. But no, he had to create a hostile environment whereby I was forced to defend myself by saying, "Well, maybe you did use it, but how did you get into this exam room? Did you touch the doorknob to get in?" Well, after the exam, as he headed out of the room, he did a Columbo trick, and he asked, "By the way, what is your background?" Again, seriously, do I have to have some sort of background to know enough to ask you to clean your hands before you touch me? Well, this is what I'm talking about. The providers must allow us to speak up, to have knowledge, and to use it without fear of this kind of ridiculous reaction. So you want to talk about the patient experience? I will never go back to this doctor or practice again, and I've made it a point to tell everyone who asks not to go to these people. Bad experience, bad reviews, bad for the doctor's business. Well, to me, the patient experience is all about how confident I feel about my surroundings. Knowledge and information is empowering, so give it to me. And my ability and freedom to use it without the fear of nasty comments and dirty looks and perhaps less than acceptable care is paramount to my experience. Allow me to be empowered. Personally, I'd be happy to do business with a hospital that said to me, "Hey, Pat, before your procedure next week, come to our mini training class tomorrow night. We'll go over some of the ways you can help us keep you safe." Yes, a hospital is a dangerous place, Pat, because that is where the germs live. Let us tell you about those bugs and teach you how to avoid them. Let's talk about hospital malnutrition, dehydration, how to avoid medication errors, falls, and so on. No one gets harmed by having too much knowledge, but they sure do when they have too little. Wouldn't you feel better going to a hospital that empowered you and then allowed you to use that knowledge and power? Let's go beyond the ask button. Yes, that is what the patient and family experience is all about. How's that for going beyond the bull? And with that out of the way, let's hear some legal news you can use. I cannot possibly impress upon you how important it is to have a few legal documents in your healthcare safety bag of tricks, especially a healthcare power of attorney. My friends at Schraff & King specialize in taking care of this legal matter before it becomes an issue. Listen as I spend the next 2 minutes with John Thomas, a friendly and smart attorney at Schraff & King, located in Willoughby Hills, Ohio, and you'll understand why you should call them today. Welcome to the show, John.
Thanks for having me.
John, what is a healthcare power of attorney?
A healthcare power of attorney is a legal document which permits you to name an agent to make healthcare and medical decisions for you if you're incapacitated and unable to make those decisions for yourself.
Who would need to have a healthcare power of attorney in place?
I'd say anyone 18 years or older would need a healthcare power of attorney. A lot of people think it's just something you get when you're older or when you have health concerns, but I can tell you that you have a lot of young people coming in, 18 or 20, 22, asking for them too. And it's the kind of document that a lot of times you don't know you need it until it's too late. And if you're incapable of signing one, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to get one at that point.
So if someone's in the hospital, they're having a healthcare crisis, what happens if they do not have a healthcare power of attorney in place?
If you don't have a healthcare power of attorney in place and you need to have someone make medical decisions for you because you're incapable, your only alternative is to get a guardianship and have that filed down at the court. I can tell you that's a more burdensome process and it has higher costs. So in the long run, to be prudent and have a healthcare power of attorney is really your best option.
There is a difference between a healthcare power of attorney and a financial power of attorney. Just explain that a little bit.
Sure, there are two main types of powers of attorney. The first, healthcare, which is what I just explained. And the second type is a financial power of attorney, which is a document that's specifically tailored to each individual, and it allows them to name an agent to handle their financial needs, similar to the healthcare power of attorney, but it's only for finances.
Many times people think if they have a healthcare power of attorney that person now has the right to address some of their financial issues.
They're two completely separate documents, but again, we normally counsel folks to look into getting both of them.
If our listeners want more information about a healthcare power of attorney, how can they find out more about you and Schraff & King?
Well, they can first go online to our website, schraffking.com, or they can contact us at our offices. The phone number is 440-585-1600.
John, you've got lots of information for us. Thanks for sharing it today.
Thank you.
Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio supports Generation America, the smart, conservative, and traditional 50-plus membership organization. Generation America cares what their members think about the issues affecting seniors and ensure their voices are heard. And they provide a full range of benefits to members. If you're looking for quality Medicare supplement, their rates are lower than the other 50-plus organization 3 out of 4 times. Generation America, on the right side for seniors. To join and to find out more, visit generationamerica.org.
We interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast.
Let's spend the next 2 minutes with our resident cleaning and infection preventionist, Daryl Hicks, consultant and author of the book, Infection Prevention for Dummies. Daryl, what are some of the basic bugs our listeners should know about?
We live in a world with millions and billions and trillions of microorganisms, but only a small portion of them, less than 5%, are disease-causing, and those are called pathogenic organisms. Some of those of particular interest are bacteria, and bacteria can be in many forms. The ones that we're interested in hospital health care, but also out there in the community, is MRSA. That's the methicillin-resistant Staph aureus, and MRSA is big in the news because it's not just in hospitals anymore. It's in the local gym, other areas, the shopping cart handle. You have to think about where those bacteria are, but MRSA is one of the big ones. This time of the year, it's the viruses, and I know that they're predicting this year to be a big year for norovirus. It's often referred to as the cruise ship virus. When you hear about passengers on a cruise ship getting ill, it's from a gastroenteritis norovirus. So it is very active this time of year. And then you've got your common flu and colds. Rhinovirus is the common cold. But those are the two big groups, the bacteria and the viruses. Viruses never die. They will mutate and grow into other things.
So awareness is the key and knowing what to do to stay safe.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Daryl. How can we learn more about you and your book, Infection Prevention for Dummies?
My website is darrellhicks.com. That is Daryl, DARRELHICKS.com. You can find out how to get in touch with me or order the book there.
Well, thank you, Daryl. I encourage our listeners to check out your website and your book, and your blog has lots of excellent information. Thank you for being here today. You're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. I am your hostess, Pat Rouleau, here each week to keep you safe during any healthcare or hospital encounter. Well, I always tell you, if you don't know what the hazards are, how can you avoid them? And that's why it pays to be informed and open to all information and conversations. Now, if you've listened to the show, you've heard about one of our sponsors, Generation America, the conservative senior organization. There's a lot of misinformation out there today, especially with regards to the new healthcare laws and how they affect, especially the senior population. Well, today, I'm honored to have the spokesperson for this smart alternative to AARP with us today, and he is the legendary Chuck Woolery, here to share some hazards and solutions. Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Chuck?
Good. Nice to be on your show.
Well, thank you. May I tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Sure. I'll listen.
All right. I'll give you a brush up as to some of the things you did in the past.
Okay.
All right, listeners, you may recognize the name, I'm sure, because Chuck Woolery has been a Hollywood personality for over 4 decades as a recording artist, actor, and most notably as a legendary host of such game shows as Wheel of Fortune, The Dating Game, Love Connection, and Lingo. As a Navy veteran, Chuck has held conservative political views for most of his life. He did not share these views publicly due to the pervading liberal atmosphere in the entertainment industry. However, recent outrages taking place in government, Congress especially, have made Chuck speak out in a series of humorous, satirical, political videos that have gone viral on YouTube. His video on proposed budget cuts from SaveUsChuckWoolery.com has had over 3 million views. His latest project is Save Us, Chuck, a Radio Minute, a daily nationally syndicated 1-minute show in which he offers humor and insight on political issues, history, and current events. With his show, he seeks to engage and entertain his audience while exposing government corruption and spreading the truth that is often edited out of the mainstream media. Well, in addition, Chuck is the spokesperson for Generation America, as I mentioned before, a senior organization for conservative Americans looking for a strong representative voice in Washington and programs dedicated to improve their well-being. Well, welcome to the show, Chuck.
Thank you. That was like a book. I didn't realize I'd done so much.
I know.
You much better.
You had to look around and say, was that me?
Yeah, really. Actually, how I got started in this, I wasn't dragged kicking and screaming into the political arena, but boy, I certainly have polarized an awful lot of my fans. Some that used to love me now absolutely hate me, and some that love me still love me. So it's been a really interesting experience. I really don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just a citizen with a point of view. It happens to have a little celebrity. It's because of Generation America. When I got hooked up with them, they had called me, and I was really kind of wary of it at first, and I had a meeting with them, and I said, you guys, I think this is a great idea. I had always heard of AARP all my life. I mean, we all have. We've been, pretty much stalked by them since we're 50. So I just figured that was the only thing out there, and quite frankly, I didn't know that much about AARP. I really didn't. And then I started surveying what they were doing and what they were up to and what their voice was, and I really assumed that, this was like a war, and I had to get involved, and so I did. And now I'm the spokesman for Generation America, but there really needed to be an alternative, and I never realized, as a lot of your seniors who are probably listening to this and aware of health care and all of those things, I was pretty ignorant when it came to that. I didn't know that they were as left-leaning as they are. And when I started to do a little research on especially AARP, I thought, my gosh, do people know about this? Yeah. It was stunning, some of the stuff that they pull and some of the stuff that they do. It's to break it down kind of rationally, it's a really political organization. Now, there's politics and everything, but this is political left organization. So I started to listen to some of the things they were saying. They got great commercials. They're very enticing and seducing. All of a sudden I realized that they were telling us one thing and they were really doing another. And it didn't suit me politically. It certainly didn't suit me as far as my welfare was concerned as a senior. And I always look back, I'm 72 now, but I always think I'm a new senior when, in fact, I'm kind of getting to be an old senior. But it was remarkable what I didn't know and the things that were going on that I wasn't aware of that were not in my best interest as being a senior from a group of people who were advocating for me, supposedly. So I joined Generation America. That's what I did. First I joined, and then I became a spokesman for them, and I think that they're doing the right thing. If you're a senior and you're conservative on any level, even if you're not a conservative, it really does, they work for your benefit. So here I am.
I think that's a great way to arrive at this. I think it's very refreshing because, as you said, you were just,
reasonable.
An everyday person. You didn't really know, and you thought that AARP was the final answer. And
I did.
Yeah,
for years. Today, I was fishing today, and for some, this was running through my mind. I thought, what if I was a senior and I'm with AARP and I got medical coverage by them, I got some kind of home insurance, I got all kinds of these things that they offer. How would I switch over to Generation America and have all of those things still handled? And that's kind of what it is like when you're moving parts of your life from one entity to another, like AARP to Generation America. They handle all that. Right. They take care of all that. And a lot of times, since we're not an insurance company, like AARP is an insurance company, so they're going to charge you what they can charge you. We're looking for the best deal for you, so a lot of times we can get a much better deal for you. We offer all the same things that they offer. Mm-hmm. So, now that I've got my commercial out of the way. That's what it sounded like.
They're one of the sponsors on the show. So every week we've got a 2 or 3 minute little vignette, and we have someone speaking about the Medicare supplement plans and how there's so many choices. Pretty much all Medicare supplement plans are the same. It's the price that's different, and so that's somebody who advocates for you and looks out for your best interest, and that's what drew me to them, is because that's what they do, and that's what they should do. AARP should do, frankly, but they don't. So many people are feeling that there is a war on seniors.
The Democrats have come up with a war on just about everything, and they aren't. They're not real wars. This is real. There is a war on seniors, and seniors, I guess we get complacent and have a tendency to think, well, it is what it is. And let me give you, for instance, there's news from oncologists. Some cancer treatment drug coverage in Medicare has been cut, resulting in a $2,000 a month. By the way, I got a call a few months ago from my doctor here in town, and she said, I can't take care of you anymore. And I said, why is that? She said, well, I like to spend time with my patients, you know that, and I just can't do it because it's not profitable, and I'm not going to take Medicare patients anymore. I'm finished with that. So she just let everybody go. Money is money, and doctors, when they start losing it, they're not going to waste their time with these edicts down from Washington in order. They're going to cover themselves first. I don't blame them. A friend told me the cardiologist told him that when all these cuts and taxes and other changes go into effect, they basically will start, now listen to this, killing off seniors because they won't have the money to support us anymore, because that money is being stripped out of Medicare and put into Obamacare to take care of other people. So we're the first ones in line since we're the oldest, to take the money from, and that's already been done. 2014 is coming, and a lot of people it's a train coming the other way, and people will wake up when all this happens. We're going to be seeing huge increases in premium for medical supplement insurance. That estimates, and this is an estimate, to go up 20 to 30% increases. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, those Medicare rates are going to skyrocket in 2014.
Well, that means we have less money to spend. And with a government who has our interest rates basically at 0%, I can remember when, before I was a senior, people kind of lived off the interest from their savings.
Right.
And they had to get into the savings, they would, but mostly it was the interest from their savings. And our savings are at 0% right now, so you can't make anything like that. Every time they print a dollar, my dollar is decreased in value, and they're printing trillions of dollars. So, all of this is a war on seniors who are not working anymore. There's a recent study at Yale Berkeley on Facebook groups that show adults. This is kind of interesting. Adults in their 20s think that seniors should be euthanized to save money since they aren't working or paying taxes. Oh. So they're unproductive to society, and they're costing these people money and their future. So they're saying, come on, let's get rid of these old folks and not put them out to pasture, put them under the ground, because they're costing us a lot of money, and we're not going to have anything when we get to the place where we need it. Look, we fought wars, we put men on the moon, we've transformed our society with computers and cell phones, efficient cars. We've made life better for the world, and yet, look at immigration. The president's immigration plan is estimated to cost to be $6.3 trillion, and that includes giving Social Security cards to all these folks that register under the program. They're immediately eligible for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and welfare. So it's interesting that the health of seniors is being discounted, yet a whole group coming in are going to be given access to the same benefits at a staggering cost.
Speaking about immigration, I read something about the new immigration bill provides for free cell phones to immigrants along the southern border for safety reasons.
This is all about votes. You and I both, I'm sure most of your audience knows about that. They're trying to clip a group. Anytime there is a POTUS, that is, of one party or the other, whoever signs that bill, I don't care what happens in Congress, their party, and they're the ones that are going to get the credit for it. And so immigration and everything else, I think, is a very dangerous situation. They're just trying to tie that group down, just like they did in the Civil Rights Bill.
Given all of this, what can our listeners do to make a difference? We could talk about it, and we can hash and discuss and be fearful, but what can we really do to make a difference?
Well, it's a funny thing because I always think in terms of what can I do, and you seem like you're just at odds with yourself. And you just go, well, what can I do?
Right.
But you can do so. There's several things that you can do. One thing is the miracle of this country is that it's our country. It belongs to the people. So our government is reflective of what we will tolerate. I think Americans are the most tolerant people on earth because our government does stuff to us that no one else on earth, I think, would tolerate. And we elect them and put them in positions and keep them there to do that. So I would be very careful about who I voted for and what they really stood for. If they stood for the Constitution, or they all give lip service to it, but we know that they don't once they get into office. They just go around it any way they possibly can. I'm a big constitutionalist. I think the Founding Fathers were brilliant. And the more I read them, the more I realize how brilliant they were. They saw all this stuff coming. They are like Isaiah. They're just great prophets of the future because they had seen so much of the past, and they knew that Jefferson said the problem with government, it has a tendency to grow, and your job is to keep it in check. And we do not check our government ever. We're running on the same budget we ran last year, and it didn't bother us then. So how come now we can't get flights? How come Congress has to pass these bills in order to circumvent the so-called sequester, and get around that so we can get flights off the air? My point is this. If you start cutting their money in any way, they will do anything to hurt you. It's like a local government that wants more taxes, and the first thing they cut is firemen, police, schools, hospitals, medical. They cut where it hurts. Do you think they'd ever cut the bureaucracy that runs all that stuff? No.
No, where you feel it, yeah.
They cut it where you feel it. So, in other words, if you don't pay us our money, then you're going to get hurt. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. And we let them do it, and we really shouldn't. That whole thing about you can't fight City Hall, folks, trust me, that was written by some mayor or or senator or someplace in City Hall that didn't want you fooling with him. You can fight City Hall, and you should, on every level, local, state, and federal. And you fight them with your vote. That's exactly how you fight them. Don't let people stay in office these ungodly periods of time and get settled into the corruption of Washington, for instance, because it's not broken, it's corrupt. You know, vote these people out. Turn them over. If you don't like the next one, then vote them out. Turn them over. Don't let them get comfortable. They've now created a nest that they live in that is so comfortable for the rest of their lives, they never want to leave. They are truly a ruling class, and that's not what this country was set up to be. So it's become very perverted over the years, and founding fathers wanted for the country what freedom, liberty really is. And I don't think I've really experienced freedom and liberty in my life as I've looked back on it like previous generations have. I mean, prior to the 30s, for instance, when a lot of this stuff was enacted, this socialism, this Keynesianism, it just goes on and on and on as government takes control from the states where all the power should be and locates it in the federal government and watches it grow, this behemoth that just finally rules our lives. And it's not good. I have no idea whether I'm making any difference to people or not. I hope so.
Well,
it's just, I do a lot of free thinking off the top of my head, and it just seems like it's reasonable to me.
Well, I think if enough people did that kind of free thinking off the top of their head, we can make a difference. And that's why I'm really happy to be a part of Generation America, because I think
they're truly helping seniors today with discounts, getting their voices heard in Washington, a fight on the war on seniors. We're really waging war back, and it is a war. So there's no mistake about that. Our government is attacking the group that made this country great, and now they can't defend themselves because we haven't got anybody in Washington to defend us. And so Generation America is taking that mantle on, and I have a lot of respect for them for that. I really do.
Yeah, me too. And I'm going to encourage our listeners to really take a strong look. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're conservative, whatever label you want to put on yourself. Things happen.
I put on myself senior, and I'm an American first. George Washington said a very interesting thing. He said, government is not reason. It's not eloquent. It's force. It's like fire. It's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. You cannot improve on that. I just don't think you can improve on that at all. Of course, they didn't have TV and Twitter and anything else to distract them.
That's true. They had time to think, whereas we don't think anymore, do we?
No. Oh, well, our attention is just taken. We have so much entertainment in our lives. I'm guilty of that as anybody. Yeah. We have so much diversion. We have so much leisure. We have a great life in this country, even with all the problems that we have. But I tell you what, I fear for my children and my grandchildren. But you think about that, where's it going to go? And it doesn't look hopeful unless we start to take it back. And I know a lot of people are saying that when you take the country back. And we as citizens can do that. We can actually let our senators and congressmen know how we feel about certain things. Most people don't. But now you can email them. You can do all kinds. And once it piles up, listen, they do not want to go against public sentiment. And talk to your friend. Tell them how you feel. Have principles. Have things you believe in and stand on those principles. Jefferson said it best. He was fabulous at this. He said, look, in matters of style, swim with the current. In matters of principle, stand like a rock. But you have to know your principles before you can stand on them. And a lot of people, and me included, was a lot part of my life, I didn't have those kind of principles because I was ignorant.
There you go. And that's education and information and being open to these kind of conversations and to learn all sides so that you can make those intelligent decisions.
This is not a horse race between Republicans and Democrats. This is our country. And it's not the guys who win are the winners. We are the ones who need to win, not the political parties.
Well, Chuck, I'm hoping that there's some good news in all of this, and I actually...
It's up to everybody who's listening to this program, people who are paying attention, people that really feel like, I want to do something. Right. Be careful about how you vote. Think about it. Understand there are people who will tickle your fancy and tickle your ears with words. Make sure that there's something behind that. The bigger the voice we have, the better we can represent the right side of politics.
Right. So where can our listeners find out more about Generation America?
Well, you can go to generationamerica.org, org.org. Give you an example. We did a thing on AARP that nobody else did. We have, I think it's 75 pages of emails between AARP and the president of the White House.
I saw those.
I mean, they're
very
you want to
telling.
Be disturbed, go read those.
Very telling. Everyone needs to read those.
No, not all 75 pages.
No, you get the general idea.
Go, oh, this is dirty. This is unseemly.
Yeah.
Give you a perspective anyway. Now, let me put it this way. If it were not for AARP, Obamacare wouldn't even be here. They literally crushed Senator Nelson. And he did not want to vote for it, and he was the deciding vote. And man, they put pressure on him you cannot believe.
Yeah,
and got his vote.
Chuck, am I missing anything? Is there anything else you want to?
Oh, I'm sure we're missing a lot, but it's enough, isn't it?
It is enough.
You can't cover the world in 20 minutes.
But
I've probably talked way too much, and I hope people in their eyes haven't just,
No, when you're passionate about something, it shows, and I appreciate that. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to bring our listeners up to date on the reality of what the future might hold. And I think that if we, and I mean young and old, do not listen up and take action, we're going to have a problem. So the first thing we can do is to join Generation America, not just for the excellent benefits, but more importantly, to show our support, to build the voice of sensible thinking people, and to change the current precarious path being laid for our seniors, right?
Well, that's why you're on radio. I'm not. That is about as concise as you can possibly put it.
Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you, Pat. Thank you.
You are listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. I am your hostess, Pat Rulo, always on the lookout for easy-to-use tools to make your healthcare and hospital encounters just a little bit safer. That's why I'm happy to have Elizabeth Bailey, author of the book, The Patient's Checklist, with us today. Listen as she spends the next 2 minutes with us to help keep us safe, sane, and organized during any hospital encounter. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much.
The first checklist in your book is called Before You Go. Can you give us an idea of some of the practical steps we should take to prepare for a hospital stay?
The very central question every patient needs to ask themselves is, who will be my support system while I am in the hospital? Because I think having involved family and friends is by far and away the most important way to ensure a better, safer stay. Family and friends help monitor your routine care, and they have your best interests at heart, so they can interpret and protect and promote the patient's needs and wishes, and they can take care of a lot of comfort issues which get lost in the shuffle of highly complex technical hospital care. I was more concerned if my dad was uncomfortable or if his pillow wasn't right than the nurse who, might have 6 to 10 patients to deal with. And I think comfort care is often overlooked. But I think comfort care is essential to healing, and I think families provide that. The whole point of the book is to empower families and patients to realize that they play such an essential role with their healthcare team in getting better.
Right. It's all about the preparation and the information and organization. Tell our listeners how they can learn more about you and where they can purchase your book.
My book is on Amazon, but you can find out more about my book and me by going to my website, thepatientschecklist.com. People can also follow me on Twitter, and I tweet at Patient POV, which is a film term which means point of view. Patient POV, and I tweet about a lot of aspects of hospital care from the patient's point of view.
Well, Elizabeth, I thank you for sharing your wisdom and advice with us today. You and I have had similar paths, and I am happy that those paths have crossed. And you're a welcome addition to our show, and I look forward to more of your tips next week.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. Now you can join us every Saturday morning on 2 Cleveland, Ohio stations and on 2 Phoenix stations on Saturday morning and on Sundays, or listen to us live online from anywhere in the world at the station's websites. I am your hostess, Pat Rulo. So happy to spend this hour with you to help you survive any healthcare or hospital encounter. Well, today the boys decided to get back to our roots, and that could only mean one thing.
Fear the wheelchair.
Oh, well, in case you don't remember, here's why our game has such a crazy name. By now, you've probably heard me talk about how I fear the wheelchairs that grace the front doors of almost every hospital. Patients and visitors get out of their cars and hop into the wheelchair, and I always wonder, where have they been? What have they touched? When was the last time those jeans were washed? Well, then they wheel around the hospital, use the bathroom, sit in waiting rooms, visit patients, all the while picking up additional and deadly hospital bacteria like MRSA, C. diff, a bit of E. coli, and perhaps some candida yeast. And at the end of the day, they're back in their cars, leaving the contaminated wheelchair at the front door of the hospital, ready for the next person to climb aboard. Well, this makes the wheelchair a high-touch, highly contaminated vehicle capable of spreading infections all over the place. So the wheelchair is now this show's representation of all hospital dangers, kind of like our mascot. So here we go, the revival of everyone's favorite game show of all time,
Fear the Wheelchair.
Listen as Joe reads some right or wrong statements. Then, even though I can't hear you, shout out your answers along with Bob. Is the statement right? Or is it wrong? All right, Joe, are you ready?
Yes, I am, finally. Right or wrong, going beyond the ask button means healthcare providers should offer patients a way to learn about hospital hazards and then allow them to speak up without fear.
What do you think about that, Bobby?
I think that's true.
Yes, it is true. That is right. And I'm hoping that some hospitals and healthcare facilities will take advantage of my PEP talks. And that stands for patient engagement programs, or patient empowerment programs, or patient experience programs, whatever you want to call it. But I believe that by educating patients and then allowing them to use that knowledge without fear, that hospitals can improve their patient satisfaction scores and patients will have a better and safer experience. What do you think of that, Joe?
Sounds good to me.
You got it.
Right or wrong, only people over 50 should join a senior organization such as Generation America.
Ooh, what do you think about that, Bob?
I think anybody should join it, but anybody should be able to join those organizations.
That's right. That got it. I think that what affects seniors obviously affects everyone, don't you guys?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. So while Generation America does focus on senior issues, it's important that all Americans stand firm on the issues that are hurting seniors. Because guess what, folks? Eventually you will be a senior, or you probably have parents or grandparents that are being adversely affected by the proposals taking shape right now. And all of this means that we need to protect the care for today's seniors, because that will protect the care that you want when you reach Medicare eligibility. And Bob, you're already there.
I know. I'm there.
Stop reminding them, please.
I know.
She does it all the time, Joe.
Right or wrong, the word antibiotic means against life.
What do you think about that, Bobby?
It's definitely against life.
You've heard way too many of my presentations, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. I could probably quote them verbatim.
Well, let's not go there. Actually, anti means against, and bios is a Greek prefix that means life. So when you take an antibiotic, it destroys all the bad life and the good life, leaving you at risk. So I suggest to take a probiotic. I take one every day. Do you, Joe?
No, but I'm trying to eat more yogurt.
That's right. You eat more yogurt.
Yeah.
That's good. That's healthy for you. Pro means for, bios means life, so a probiotic is for life. Joe knows what he's doing. And remember, guys, don't take antibiotics for any reason other than a bacterial infection, right?
That's correct.
You got it.
All right. Good boys.
Right or wrong, prior to any and every healthcare encounter, a good question to ask is, will it hurt?
What do you think, Bob?
That's a good question. I think that is a good question. I'd want to know if it hurts, and I'd like to know all about it.
Oh, Bob, that's wrong.
Thank you.
But you know what? It is still a good question.
That's a very good question.
It really is a good question. But if you remember one of our guests a few weeks ago, Casey Quinlan, you might remember that she wrote the book Cancer for Christmas. Well, she gave us some quick one-liner advice to our questions, and she couldn't stress enough that we asked the question, how much is that? Remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So if all patients asked that question, perhaps the veil of secrecy surrounding medical costs would be lifted.
That's a good way of answering it.
So first we'll ask how much is that, and then we'll ask if it hurts.
And then will it hurt my wallet, right?
There you go. That's what
That's where the hurt comes in,
That's
Joe.
where the hurt comes. Your answer was right then, Bob.
You're right.
All right. We need a clap, right, Joe?
Sure. Real quick.
Yay, Bobby was right. Any more?
Yeah, one more. Right or wrong, want to be a good patient? Dig out those words, please and thank you.
What do you think, Bobby?
I definitely believe that you can get more attention that way if you ask and if you're very sincere about it.
Absolutely. That's right.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it's a beginning. I would also suggest that you ask for help. Would you please help me? I know you're busy, but will you help me understand the side effects of this medication? And then say thank you. Thank you for helping me. This is some powerful stuff, folks. Don't you guys think?
I definitely believe so.
Yeah, when I was in the hospital for that week, when I kept saying please and thank you, at first they were kind of jumped back and like, what you're saying please and thank you? But it actually did work.
Absolutely. See, take advice from Joe. I'd also suggest that you be honest about your lifestyle habits, and I hope you worked, Joe. I hope you didn't lie about smoking, drinking, or using any green plants. I mean, docs need to know about that. Another way is to bring a list of questions to help you stand out and let your doctor stay on track and let them know that you have this list. And finally, really being a good patient isn't all that difficult. It starts with being informed and it ends with being polite. And by listening to this radio show every week, you are well on your way to be. You knew I was going to get there, right? You're well on your way to becoming informed. You want to be an even better patient, guys?
Go ahead.
And you both should be. Get a copy of my book, Speak Up and Stay Alive, Your Hospital Survival Guide. Not because I wrote it, but because you need it. It's easy to read. It has an in-your-face cover that when taken to the hospital with you and placed on your tray table will cause everyone who comes in to ask what it's all about. This is a silent yet powerful way to let everyone know that you take being informed patient very seriously. Listen, guys, after the show and all you listeners, head over to the website Speak Up and Stay Alive to purchase the book. And if you do not have access to internet, you can call me and I will take your order over the phone. Lots of people do it that way. The number is 440-725-5462. Well, thank you guys for playing the most requested radio game show of all time. I'm almost certain.
Yeah.
And it's called
Fear the Wheelchair.
Yay. Listeners, don't go anywhere. There's so much more you can learn about healthcare and hospital safety on America's favorite show, Speak Up and Stay Alive, Radio. Well, now, let's take a peek at the Speak Up and Stay Alive calendar. We've been so busy adding the new radio show and revamping the website. And by the way, if you haven't seen it, be sure to visit speakupandstayalive.com. It's new and improved, and now we have the capability of posting your comments. So feel free to send them via the website. Well, anyway, we're just getting back to adding new live events. So if your group, club, business, or church are looking for a really awesome 1-hour event, I'm your gal. And with that in mind, you are invited to attend our next free event in Chesterland, Ohio, at the St. Anselm Church on Route 306. That's going to be held on Thursday, June the 7th at 12:30 in the afternoon. I look forward to meeting you. And bring a gang of friends. Make it a meaningful afternoon with me and Bob at St. Anselm Church in Chesterland. And if you can't remember this, or if you're doing something where you just can't write it down, you can check the calendar page at the new and improved SpeakUpandStayAlive.com website, or you can always call me, 440-725-5462. Well, today we talked about going beyond the ask button as a way to really give patients and family members the information they need to survive a hospital stay. Give us the venue, open up your hospital doors, conduct training classes, or pep talks as I call them, and then when we do speak up, embrace that opportunity to do the right thing to keep us safe. Allow us our voice without fear. And our guest, Chuck Woolery, shared his views on the war on seniors. I encourage every one of you, regardless of your political leanings, to visit the Generation America website, generationamerica.org. As I said before, regarding healthcare safety, and it actually applies to everything in life, too much knowledge never hurt anyone. Too little is another story. So visit generationamerica.org, and then you'll have the additional information to make an intelligent decision on the issues affecting today's senior population. And for less than a so-so meal in a restaurant, you can join Generation America and actually get some very useful benefits while supporting a game changer. And we brought back the best game ever, Fear the Wheelchair. Just a way to deliver important information in a bit of a wacky and therefore memorable way. Now, if you miss some of today's show, you are wacky. When you join us each week, you may be adding some years to your life or to the life of someone you know and love. So set your alarm clocks for Saturday and Sunday mornings and tune in and tell your friends. Don't be a radio hog. And if you want to hear the show again, or if you want to play it for a friend in need, Simply go to the radio link at the speakupandstayalive.com website to listen to today's program. Start your week with an O. Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. Oh, and be sure to listen next week. I'm going to continue the patient experience conversation and delve into the word engagement, as in patient engagement. And of course, the boys will be here to play whatever game they decide. Always a fun way to share important healthcare and hospital survival tips and tools with you. When is that? It's next Saturday morning, where you can find us in Cleveland, Ohio, from 7 to 8 Eastern on AM 1420 WHK and from 9 to 10 Eastern on AM 1220 WHKW. And remember, our newest edition, Saturday mornings in Phoenix, Arizona, from 6 to 7 Mountain Time on AM 1360 KPXQ. And then, if you missed it then, listen to us on Sunday mornings in Phoenix. You can tune in from 9 to 10 Mountain Time on AM 960 KKNT. Or you can always listen live via the internet. Just check the speakupandstayalive.com website to find out how. In the meantime, I hope you have a healthy and a happy week. I am Pat Rouleau, and I am your guide to safe and successful healthcare and hospital encounters.
The information provided in today's broadcast is for informational purposes only and was not intended for use as diagnosis or treatment of a health problem or as a substitute for consulting a licensed medical professional.
Survive. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Generation America supports Speak Up and Stay Alive. Generation America, the smart, conservative, and traditional 50-plus membership organization. Generation America cares what their members think about the issues affecting seniors and ensure their voices are heard. And they provide a full range of benefits to members. For instance, if you're looking for a quality Medicare supplement, their rates are lower than the other 50-plus organization 3 out of 4 times. Generation America, on the right side for seniors. To join and to find out more, visit generationamerica.org.